So I worked at Yellow Pages for 15 years, and the CEO turned around and said, "That Google thing will never catch on." I can watch people who know sales process and I know the next word that is coming out of their mouth. Life is short and time is really precious. I think that's a lesson in itself. Every single day, bring your A game, but some days your A game is just getting out of your pajamas. Yeah. It was the Prince of Wales that gave me the honour. I said to Kaya, "Are you my press officer?" And she went, "Yeah, why?" I said, "I think I've got an honour. I think I've got an MBE. Do you want me to be 100% honest in this? Do you want me to tell the whole truth?"
110%, as honest as you can.
So
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Success School podcast. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and taking time to listen to the show today. And I also just want to make sure you are aware that my whole mission with this podcast is to be able to give people access to conversations that are going to enlighten, they're going to inspire, and they're going to give you the information needed to genuinely start to live a happier, a healthier, and a more fulfilling life. But here's the thing, I am just one man. So that's really, really hard to get a lot of people to be positively impacted when I'm doing this alone. So I'm just going to ask a little favor. And I know you're probably sick of hearing this. You probably hear it on every podcast you listen to. But please, if you genuinely do think this podcast is valuable and can help people, if you could just take a second to hit that subscribe button and maybe go one further, tell other people about it, share it on your Insta stories, anything you can do to help bring more awareness to the show would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for being here, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. Well, first things first, thank you so much, Alison. I absolutely bloody love your energy. We were just talking before we hit record. It's nice to have someone who's doing cool stuff and is not an arsehole. And you was like, maybe I can be. Let's see how the interview goes. So let's see. But welcome to the show, Alison. How are you doing? You've had a bit of stress with your light just now. Are we all good? The lighting wasn't
yeah,
right,
I'm
was
all,
it?
it's not the perfect lighting, but you've got to focus on the things you can control, not the things you can. And to me, like I'm a big believer. If I say 7 o'clock, I'm going to be on time. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give it my best shot. And I'm not going to worry that my lighting isn't perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect, really, is there, Matt? So,
Boom. There we go. We've already smashed it. Done. Mic drop. Alison, I think a good place to start is, for those who aren't familiar with you and your story, just to hear a little bit about your journey to getting into business, which I believe was actually at a later age, shall we say, than maybe a lot of people do. And your journey to being awarded MBE, which is quite an amazing accolade. Tell us a little bit, Alison. How did that all come about?
well, again, like you meet people and they go, "Oh, I always wanted to run my own business. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur." Well, I didn't want really any of that. So I'm from Clydebank, which is just outside Glasgow. Is quite well known for like Singer sewing machines. The QE2 was built there, and my ultimate favourite, Martipello from Wet Wet Wet. And of course, some people, Duncan Bannatyne, they might have heard of that guy. I believe he was on some random TV show. Yeah. So Clydebank is a very, very, very working class area. So I was brought up in a high-rise council flat. My mum was a cleaner and my dad worked on the shipyard. So running your own business, or again, the word entrepreneur wasn't a thing in those days. It was really for the trades guys or for the posh people. Like people like me would never really have their own business. So it was never something I ever aspired to. And I struggled academically. Like I loved school because I love people, but I struggled with retaining information, and I didn't know why, Matt. I just thought I was thick. And again, I think at that stage of the game, like teachers treated you like you were thick, and and I couldn't. There was always a disconnect because I tried dead hard, but I couldn't learn. We now know that as dyslexia and neurodiversity, and we now know it is a superpower.
Yeah.
But at that stage of the game, I just thought I was a bit silly. So I got a job. I left school at 16, the day I turned 16, and I got a job as a hotel receptionist. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but I loved it because I love people. And what happened in a small hotel, every single pound that goes through that hotel would come through me as a receptionist. So it was a really good grounding in business. And I loved balancing the books, and I loved counting the cash, and every facet of what we would now know really is running your own business was really ticking my boxes. Apart from, again, Matt, there was life before there was computers, and I used to have to type the menus on a typewriter, but because I couldn't spell or do any of this, oh, that was the bane of my life.
Wow.
But it gave me a great career. So I left Clydebank and I worked in hospitality. So I worked for Radisson in Sydney, I worked for Southern Suns in Cape Town, I worked in the Channel Islands. So I travelled on my own for 6 years, just me and my wee backpack running around the world. So again, those skills are really great skills around resilience and asking for things. And, again, the skills that make you strong as an entrepreneur. I had them, but I didn't know I was ever going to use them, if that makes sense. So when I came back from traveling, I went to work for BT in the first ever call centre that they had. And it was direct mail, direct response. So I was phoning companies to try and sell them these new things that had just been invented called mobile phones. That was moving people off of pagers to have a mobile phone. So that was sort of my background in sales. And again, coming back to business, like if you don't sell, you don't have a business. So everything was like going hunky-dory. And after BT, I worked for Dow Egberts, the coffee people, and Yellow Pages. So I worked at Yellow Pages for 15 years. And at that time, again, it makes you think about it now and you think, oh my God, there was a world before mobile phones and the internet. And it's just bizarre to talk about it now. But I had been with Yellow Pages for 15 years. And honestly, Matt, this is the thing that I never thought I'd ever leave. I thought I was in that job for life. And I walked into a room and the CEO stood on the stage, right? So it's like a big conference. And the CEO turned around and said, that Google thing will never catch on. Oh. Boom. Now that's, I think in life, there's catalysts to change. And I thought, I can't shaft people, like, again, people running their own business, flogging them something like Yellow Pages when I know it's in decline just because I've been brainwashed by the CEO to keep selling a product that I didn't think was relevant. So it was only at that stage of the game. So I was 46. I've got 2 kids. At that stage, they were maybe 10 and 11. I was like, oh my God, I'd never wanted my own business. I just had no idea. My head was fried. And again, I still am really good friends with my pals from school. So I think, again, that to me is like a sign of me as a person, that I'm a good friend. And I've got a friend called Lorraine, and I pick up the phone to Lorraine and I'm like, Lorraine, I'm frazzled here. I've got no idea what I'm going to do. She goes, you're going to set up your own company to teach people how you sell from your heart and with your passion. I went, that's a great idea, Lorraine. So I set up the company, and sort of the rest, as they say, is history. And it's evolved again, like any business. You've got, I call myself a wee bit like Madonna. You've got the leg warmer era, you've got the boobs era, you've got the Vogue era, you've got the falling down the stairs era. You've got all the eras.
What era are you in at the moment? Not falling down the stairs.
I feel like I'm at the top of the world era. Honestly, I'm so happy with everything that I'm doing. And it was just during that period of time, I've obviously written the first book, which as a dyslexic was massive. Like I never thought I could write a paragraph, let alone a book. And then during COVID, I wrote the second book.
What was the process then, Alison, from having that belief, I can't even write a paragraph, to getting your first book completed, published, selling? What was that process? What was the catalyst to shift in that mindset?
It was that bloody Lorraine again. She's terrible, that Lorraine, honestly.
Great. We need to get Lorraine on the podcast.
Lorraine on, honestly. Because what had happened was, when I had set the company up, the timing wasn't too bad because there was funding to help me train the company. So say that was a small business and they had a sales team of 10, the government would pay half, the client paid half, and I got full whack. So it was a really good way. But the government, again, like everything evolves, they cut the funding. And it was like, oh God, the small businesses can't afford to pay that rate, but I can't take less, because if I took less, I can't afford to pay my team, and it was that sort of thing. And then also there was the, how can I help them? If they can't afford to pay me and I've got what they need, I've got the skills they need, how can I help them? And that's where the book was a necessity. It wasn't a nice to have. It was a, if I'm going to help people, if I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, I'm going to have to do this. So I phoned Lorraine. I went, but I can't write. I'm really stupid. Who's going to read it? And she went, well, you better get your arse in gear and get going then. So I've got a great team. I've always, and like, as soon as I started the business, I didn't do it on my own. I did, for the first few months, but I've always taken on an employee to help. So at that time, Kaya, I take on young people as well to give them that opportunity. So either a graduate to give them their first role, or I take on young people who have got no work experience and I put them through their apprenticeships and give them a qualification to enhance their careers. So Kaya and I were reading, and I'm going to be do you want me to be 100% honest in this? Do you want me to tell the whole truth?
110%, as honest as you can.
So I figured that because I was thick and I couldn't write, I needed a ghostwriter. Okay, so that was the first thing. So the ghostwriter's like, yeah, I'll write your book. It'll be $3,000. And I'm like, yeah, crack on. Here you go. There's $3,000. Go write me a book. And it was effing awful, Matt. Honestly, I read it, and the team, the girls read it, and they went, Alison, that's shit. You can't put your name to that. It's because I'm quite distinct.
Yeah.
As I speak, I'm distinct. I shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Also, when I write the way that I speak. I don't write like an academic. I write like me. So it's really down to earth and relatable. So they were like, and I said, but I've just paid $3,000 for this guy. And then again, between Kaya and Lorraine, they're like, oh, you better get your arse in there and start writing. So I thought, oh my God. So to break it in, I wrote a blog for LinkedIn, and it's like the why sales and marketing is like golf. And again, it was before I had the tools on my laptop to sort of read it back. I've now got a thing called Fiona, and it's like an audio voice that I highlight all the text and she reads it back so I can see the mistakes, because dyslexics miss a lot of the small words because of the patterns. And again, we did that. And then a lot of the stuff with the first book was quite easy because I had a training company, and all I had to do was, what do I train and how do I train it? And then get those words out and then write them. And then Kaya and I would edit. So Kaya and my team, we would edit until we had something that worked. And then another one of the girls who had, again, they never leave me, honest to God, they come back, they go all over the world, Matt, and then they come back here and they stay in my house, hang out in the hot tub, wait for me to cook their dinner. Like, it's like horrific. I've got a family of about 20 now with all the ex-staff. So, and Natasha, she's got a first in English. So she had gone traveling and was in Australia. So she would do the edits. And also the girls can kind of write like me because they spend so much time that we could work on it together. So there would be a bit and I'd go, oh, I can't quite get this bit out of my head. And Kaya would go, oh, this is the stuff you do in training. I'll write that bit. And then I would edit it and we would put the book together. So again, they're credited in the book. The book's mine, but we worked on it together. And it's a true testament to teamwork because...
Yeah. I mean, I just want to highlight, Alison, especially for anybody that's really wanting to take away some little nuggets that they can utilize, or if you're taking notes. I think there's 3 key points that really stood out just listening to your story. The first one is that team is everything, right? It's not just relying on, oh, I've got to do it, because I think a lot of business owners struggle to delegate or struggle to trust other people.
Completely.
It's about
100%.
being, and I think it's about being so clear on what your strengths are, what the areas are that are just not, either you just don't enjoy them or you're not skilled at it, and finding the best people for that. I think that's a really key thing to make a note of. The second thing that stood out to me was when you're backed into a corner, you have to find a way, right? And I think, like, just listening to you there when you said about like the yellow pages, you're like, there's no way I can stay here now. Lorraine's on the phone. Suddenly I have to now start my first business at 46 with no idea what I'm going to do. And same with the book, the ghostwriter, $3,000, it's shocking. I now have to find a way to do this myself. And I think often we're too comfortable or we're too easy to just settle. And because of that, we never make bold decisions that can ultimately be the key to making a drastic, change. As they've been two of the key moments in your life, right? Writing your first book, starting your first business.
But I think it's interesting because a lot of people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
The reason that I did it was purpose. And again, it does come back to the reason that you're doing it. You just always have to focus on the reason. So, why did I set up a business? couldn't screw people over. And actually, I could teach something that other people, small businesses predominantly, love marketing. Oh my God, my socials, my marketing, but they hate sales. And that's where if I can teach something that I've been doing for 20 years and help a business to survive, well, that's not a choice. That's
Yeah.
my duty. I'm put on earth to do that. Why would I not do that? So
It's
again,
almost selfish not to do it,
it's
right?
almost selfish. And I think that's where you're coming out of your comfort zone and doing the things that you don't want to do. If you really know why you're doing it, it's your duty to do it. Like that book wasn't a choice. It was my duty to write that. And honestly, that book, I mean, even like I get a wee bit teary. So it's called Secrets of Successful Sales, right? So, and again, the reason that it was quite, I don't say it was easy. It wasn't. There was times I was, oh my God, I was in like, because we work from our home, my home. So we get this sort of open plan kitchen and we all work around the kitchen table. And there was times where it was just getting too much and I'd put my head on the table and I'd start crying. I just was crying and the girls were like, oh God, what's this all about? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do it. And they're like, of course you can do it. You need to do it. And I'm like, right, okay, I can do it. So again, even somebody that you think, oh my God, they're out there, they're smashing it. You know, everybody goes through those self-doubt moments and it's not, you know, that's normal, that's natural, that's your brain trying to protect you. It's how you proceed after that. And I think that's where there was two huge fears. The first huge fear, I'm now 3 grand down already because the ghostwriter didn't work out. What happens if I now take all this time out of the business and out of my life and write this book and nobody reads it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that is a big thing. But then the second fear, oh my God, and I can even feel it in the pit of my stomach. What happens if they read it and they think it's rubbish? And I think that's another thing that holds people back is that fear of, oh, other people's opinions.
Yeah.
You know, you think you're doing it for the right reasons, but what happens if people don't like it? But touch wood, it went on to not only be a #1 around the world on Amazon, it was a W.H. Smith top 10 business book. So again, like, oh, Lorraine was in her element. You know, I was getting all these pictures from people at train stations and airports. And there's one of my followers, he was starting a business. Again, he was side hustling and starting his business, but he worked as something that Heathrow. And he would go in and he'd be taking pictures, going, oh, the shelf's empty, Alison. People are like, oh my God.
Wow.
And then
And how did that feel? Like,
oh my
from
God,
somebody who had that fear of
honestly,
failure, fear of judgment, to then get that result, what was that moment like?
oh, I can't even put it into words. And then off the back of that, the Independent newspaper voted it one of the top 10 business books written by a woman. This is in 2019. Again, why written by a woman makes any difference. I'm still fighting for that corner. But again, it's quite overwhelming. And it's interesting because you don't, you know, I just get up every day and get on with it. You don't reflect back until you speak at events like this when you think, oh my God, there, that was such an amazing feeling. So,
and then MBE, like, tell us about that, Alison.
Again, that's another thing that it's just like, so again, coming back to team and Kaya, we just, so not the problem, but off the back of the first book, Secrets of Successful Sales, I was getting DMs all the time. I was getting people going, oh my God, I love this book. You know, you've really changed my life. I'm getting on better with my family. I'm getting better with my kids. I've just bought a house and I've saved money. I sold my car and I got more money than I thought. And I was like, and I was looking at the people, because obviously it was through LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook DMs and stuff. And I'm like, you're not meant to be reading that book. You're not an entrepreneur or in sales. Why are you reading that book? But they were loving it. So I thought, I have to write this second book in personal development. So, to clarify, until I wrote the books, I'd never read a book on sales and I'd never read a book on personal development. So I had to capture my life and how I live my life and what I do in my life and how I can help other people, because it's called Smash It, the art of getting what you want. And I'm notorious for getting what I want. So if you've never read a book, you're not really copying other people and what other people say, because I didn't have anything to copy. All I could copy was my life. Yeah, so again, same thing. We're back to this. I can't write, I can't read. And it was during lockdown. So this was our lockdown thing. And Kaya had left the company, but again, they all leave and they all come back. And she was in Portugal. And then, as you know, during that time, like everybody was coming back to their family. They wanted to lock down at home. So I said to Kaya, and this is at the time, I didn't furlough the team. I didn't furlough MD. I kept them, and I made sure I had money to pay them. And they're going, but Alison, how are you going to pay me? And I said, you're going to pimp me out on LinkedIn. We'll do LinkedIn webinars for a tenner a go or 20 quid a go. And that then covered payroll. So we just kept churning it to, you know, to be able to pay them. So Kaya comes back. Everybody's getting made redundant. Everybody's going on furlough. And I said to Kaya, do you want a job? She went, yeah. She goes, well, what am I going to do? I said, we're going to write another book. So we're writing Smash It. And again, at that time, remember the bit during COVID when you were allowed people in your garden, but you didn't know where they were allowed to go for a wee? Remember that bit? And you're like, where do they go for a wee? I don't know. They allowed in the house.
Times,
They not allowed in the house. And again, it's that reflecting back. It's like, you know, talking about yellow pages. Oh, there was no mobile phones. There was no internet. Oh, remember the COVID thing? Ah. So I'm sitting there, and again, I'm not diagnosed as ADHD, but my son and both my sons seem to think that I've got ADHD, but who knows? And I get distracted quite easily. So we're writing the book, Kaya's reading to me, I'm sort of editing, and I keep my emails on. And then boom, this email comes in from the Cabinet Office via, like, it comes from the Queen via the Cabinet Office. And I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading it. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm thinking, I think I've got an honour from the Queen. I think I've got an MBE. But again, I struggle to read. So don't forget that I've got to put my voice thing on to read all my emails because I can't read very well. So, and there was a note in there that said, you can only tell your press officer. You're not allowed to tell your family, your friends. It's like a huge secret, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm palpitating. I'm thinking, oh my God, I think I've got an honour. I think I've got an MBE. So I said to Kaya, are you my press officer? And she went, yeah. You nutter. Why would you want? What? Why? I said, I think that I think I've got an honour. I think I've got an MBE. And she said, oh, she goes, I knew that 3 weeks ago. The man phoned to check your details. She said, I nominated you 3 years ago. So she was 21 years old when she nominated me for an MBE behind my back, just for the work that I do to support the entrepreneurial community and the team. So I have no words. And again, that's what I mean, that, you know, sometimes, especially as a, you know, a leader, you kind of just get up every day and do your best. And sometimes, you know, coming back to what we were saying at the beginning about delegation, some people delegate and then they go, oh, you're not doing that right. I'll just take over and I'll do it. It's quicker if I do it myself. I mean, that's the worst thing, that I bring my team in and I love it when they make mistakes. I mean, the number of times that during our database, we had sent out the database with like no name and, you know, all that. And I'm going, yay, we won't do that one again, until the next team member came in and did the same. But that's another story. But I think that's that impact. So, I mean, it was just amazing. And then I went to Windsor Castle. I had to wait and be really quiet about it for 5 months because they included the COVID heroes. So there was a big delay. And then it was Prince William, it was the Prince of Wales that gave me the honour. And yeah, I mean, that was a story. Do you want me to tell you that story?
That's a bit. What happened with Prince William? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what happened is, like, you go in, and at that time, again, sort of at the back end of COVID, it's a wee bit like, have you ever been to Disneyland? Right, so you know, if you're waiting for one of the cool rides, they put you in the holding pen rooms, you're in this room and you watch a video and then you move around. It was a bit like that, right? So they split you into small groups and you're in the holding pen until you finally get pre-ride, you know, you're there. And like the prince's aides there and says, right, this is what you've got to do. You've got to say sir, you've got to curtsy. Again, honestly, I was so excited, I can't remember what I had to do. And he came up and they're sort of briefed. So you'll say the original company that I set up is called Sales Coaching Solutions. So he says, oh, Sales Coaching Solutions, what is it that does? And I said, well, that is the company name, but I'm known as the entrepreneur's godmother. And he laughs and he goes, oh, and I said, I work with some of the apprentice winners, the Dragon's Den winners. And then I said, actually, sir, we have met at an event previously with Deborah Meaden. I was at an event with Deborah Meaden and Peter Jones, and you were there because you're the trustee of the foundation. It's called I can't remember what it's called. It's to do with elephants. And I said, but I know you meet a lot of people, so you won't remember me. And he said, I don't remember you, but I do remember the event. He said, I'm really good at remembering events I've been to, but because I meet so many people. And I said, oh, don't worry. And he said, oh, I've actually got an entrepreneurial charity. Would you like to get involved in that? And I said, oh, yes, sir, that would be lovely. I said, how do we make that magic happen? I think I even did the hands. I said, how do we make that magic happen, sir? And he says, well, I said, why don't you get your people to contact my people, and then we can do that. We can.
Wow. Wow.
So I then had a call with one of the aides. We're still working on what we can do because it's a big thing. Like countries win the Earthshot Prize, so I don't really know. And the aide to the prince said, he doesn't really remember many people, but he does remember you, Alison. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I made an impact. So yeah, so it's super exciting. But again, with that, it's just trying to make an impact on more people. Like if I'm working with him, I can raise my brand, and if I can raise my brand, people know who I am, then I can help more people to achieve their goals. And
amazing. And what an honor. Congratulations, Alison. That is absolutely amazing. Now, most of you that listen to this show every week are also already members of our incredible membership, so you don't need me to tell you how amazing that it is. If you're not a member, I'm not going to list everything that you get because it's completely free to join anyway. So all I would say is click the link in our show notes, head on over, start your membership, and you will find out for yourself. But simply put, the membership is this. It is there to give you the guidance, the support, the accountability, the community, and the information that is there if you actually want to start to become a person who achieves what it is you say you want to achieve. If you want to become that high performance action taker, that person that is a go-getter, that has got the support to start making change in every single area of your life, that's what the membership does. That is what we are there to do. And I can tell you now that if you take action, if you sign up, and if you commit to consistently engaging with the membership, I can almost 100% guarantee you that it will positively impact every single area of your life. But I can't do that for you. You are the missing link. You need to click that link. You need to sign up. You need to join us, and you need to get involved. If you do, the results will come. The question is, will you do it? I don't know, but I really hope so. And if you do, I'll be excited to welcome you into the community. Guys, I've got a question to ask. If you are listening to this podcast right now and you haven't yet purchased a ticket for our live in-person event, what on earth are you doing? You need to stop listening. You need to go purchase your ticket, and you need to make your way to Bradford on Saturday, the 6th of January to get yourself in the room. No excuses. I don't care if it's your day of your wedding. Cancel your wedding. You can postpone it. It's not as important as this. If you were at the first event that we did in Manchester, you will know just how powerful it is to get into a room full of people who are like-minded, to engage in the great content, to meet the guest speakers, and to bloody well meet me. Like, what more do you need? All jokes aside, I seriously think out of everything I've ever done, putting on these events is the thing I enjoy the most. I think it is the most powerful and impactful, and it has the potential to genuinely change your life. It has the potential to help you connect with some great people that could become lifelong friends. There's just so many benefits. What I've done is I've put the link to get tickets in the show notes of this episode. So just head over there if you want to get a ticket. There's going to be some great speakers. We're also going to be doing some group breath work. We're going to be doing some group coaching where I'll be there coaching you guys on the day. We'll be talking about some stuff that's genuinely going to get you thinking about what you want out of your life and what you need to be doing to take the steps to make those changes. You're also going to be invited to do some cold water therapy. It's not compulsory. There's just going to be the opportunity if you want to do it. I certainly will be doing it. So if you want to get in an ice bath with me, that will be available to you. We're also going to be having some really healthy, nutritious foods available to eat on the day. It's just going to be such a positive day. The way that I'm sort of marketing it is like a little mini retreat. in Bradford. Who knew? Who knew you could do that in winter in Bradford? It's happening, like I say, on the Saturday the 6th. It's going to be in the day, and I would love to see you there. Click the link to get your ticket. Drop me a message. You can either email me at successschoolgroup@gmail.com or DM me on the various social media handles if you've any questions. But do get your tickets fast, because I'm not just saying this is a marketing thing. I am very, very pleased to see they are selling very, very quickly. So don't procrastinate. Take action, and I'll see you there. I want to talk about sales, because obviously that is your thing. And
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest. I fall into that category definitely of like the entrepreneurial sort of person that I would say severely dislikes selling. I think I love the marketing and all that, just like you said earlier. But I do sell. I have to sell. I mean, for one of my companies, I have a team that sell, and I much prefer them selling than me. Tell me, how can I enjoy sales more? What would be your advice to me to change my relationship with selling?
So we were talking about nuggets, and I said I've got more nuggets than McDonald's. So I think one of the key nuggets is when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing, right? So there's no, if you know that what you're providing is correct for that customer, it's not a sale. Genuinely, it's a customer service. But I think what I see with a lot of small businesses, they don't know how it fits together. So they don't, and again, the reason that people prefer marketing is fear of rejection, because marketing doesn't reject you. I mean, sometimes you might get an odd comment in there or a wee troll in there, but 99% of the time you just put it up and everybody's like, oh yeah, la, la, la.
But I think, again, marketing feels like it's a lot of, a lot of social media marketing. It's a lot of giving value up front. And I think just straight away, that reframe that you've given us there, seeing it as customer service, we now see it as value. Immediately the relationship changes, rather than, I think there's a lot of old school connotations, isn't there, that sales is sleazy. That's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think actually I could probably revert back to my first blog. Sales and marketing is like golf, and I've got a new take on it as well. So sales, marketing, and operations is like golf, right? So, and this is where I do believe that sales and marketing should work hand in hand. They are, but they're not conjoined. So a lot of people go, sales and marketing. It's two separate animals, two separate things. And if you look at marketing, so your website, your socials, your mail shots, your, anything sort of online or paper print. I've gone back to the old days again, lumpy mail, things like that. I call that, from a sales and marketing perspective in golf, marketing put the tee in the ground and they put the ball on the tee. They set it up, they create it. There's something there that people can look at. And then what happens is sales, and again, it's quite controversial, because a lot of people say, oh, it's all human to human, it's not business to consumer or business to business. I think that's bullshit, honestly. I think that there is a consumer route, and I'll explain how I think that is. And I think there is a business to business route, and they're two separate animals. So if you look at marketing, tee in the ground, ball in the tee. Sales is when the person comes in, the actual human conversation, the Zoom, the face-to-face, the phone call. That's sales. That's not marketing. And then sales take the ball down the fairway. They put it on the green, but only when the ball goes in the hole do you make any money, right? So if you look at, that's how you close. That's how you get the purchase order number. That's how you get the credit card number. That is the close. And then I was doing this in London, a wee bit like the EMC event, and somebody from marketing puts up their hand and goes, Alison, that's a load of rubbish. And I'm like, okay, bring it on. Why is that a load of rubbish? And they said, well, actually, if the marketing is good, and we're great at marketing, we've raised awareness of that brand, people know it, we actually put the ball right beside the pin, and the sales guys tap it in and take all the glory. But that is the thing. If the marketing is really good, if you look at something like, look at Apple, right? There's a great example. Like, if you know that you're queuing up already for the Apple 15 or whatever the new one is, so you're like, oh, I'm already hyped. So when you go into the Apple store or whatever store you're going into, again, face to face with a human, then you've already kind of made your choice on what you're going to buy. It's just tapping it in. Then you've got this is where, again, I see that as a B2B, that the person has to be involved, especially on really big deals. It's going to be highly unlikely that somebody's going to sign up to a multiple £1,000 contract without having a conversation with a person.
Yeah.
But if you look, and I think this is the holy grail, if you look at TikTok Shop, right? Look at TikTok Shop and you go in and you go, oh, and again, if there's any ladies in the room on TikTok, you'll know there's this bodysuit thing, you know, it's like, oh my God, do you want to look like a size 10? All you need to do is buy this bodysuit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having one of them. Swipe up, buy, credit card number. So that is a hole-in-one for marketing. There is no sales involved in that at all. That's a hole-in-one. And again, if you look at business to consumer, like the B2B market, I think a lot of that is hole-in-one for marketing. The holy grail, you don't need sales for that. You just need shit-hot marketing. So again, that's where Amazon, eBay, TikTok Shop, none of that sales. That's just really good marketing. And then people say, but what about operations? Where does all that fit in? Well, that's where they are the grass cutters, the bunker rakers. They make the course really nice, because if the course is not nice, you'll never play it again, and you'll tell your friends not to play it. Whereas if your course is in good condition, you'll buy repeatedly and you'll tell your friends to come back and buy. So I think that really segments sales, marketing and operations, and why I genuinely believe it's like golf. Because if you look at that as golf, if you love golf, you've just given somebody the best experience. That's not a sale, that's just brilliant customer service. So
okay, so that really helps me like get a better perspective on it and maybe shift my mindset on sales and the importance of it and the role it plays, I guess. Now, what would you give me as like really specific advice on maybe where you see people go wrong when it comes to selling? What's sort of some of the key nuggets you could give on how I could become better at selling?
Here's a 20-pack of nuggets coming your way.
Not going to sell to me. You're going to charge me for this, aren't you, as well?
Yeah. So first of all, what I would do is I'd recommend anybody to self-analyze themselves, record your calls, or like really listen to what you're doing, because sales process. So sales is a process. This is pillar 2 in the book. And I genuinely love sales. So my first nugget to you is, how do you get, like podcasting, right? You obviously love it. So you're really good at it because you love it. If you don't love it, you're never going to be great at it. You have to learn to love it. That's your first thing. You've got to go, oh my God, I love sales. No, oh, I hate sales. I'm not very good at sales. I'm never going to do sales. Oh, I'm going to outsource my sales. Love it, because it's the key and it's the foundation of any business. So that's one tip. The other thing, sales is a process. Honestly, I love to watch people sell. So it's a bit like Swan Lake, right? If I go and watch Swan Lake, I could watch it at the Sydney Opera House, or I can watch it in Covent Garden, and the steps are the same. You know, I hate to say this, spoiler alert, the swan does die at the end, but I know what's going to happen, right? Yeah. I can watch people who know sales process, and I know the next word that is coming out of their mouth, right? I know. So the biggest mistake that people make, they sell too soon. And that's the foundation of bad sales. So they go, you know what, I've got this amazing product. It does this, it does the next thing, it does this thing. Do you want to buy it? And people go, can you send me an email to nevergonahappen.com? So that's the first thing. That the biggest tip for sales is stop talking and ask great open questions, because you're like a doctor. It's like a consultancy. So you've got to ask. So say, for example, you sell, say it's social media marketing, right? So say there's somebody in the audience and they do socials and they want to get more customers who are too busy to do their socials and they want to outsource it. So you would, first of all, I call it the 4W introduction: who you are, where you're from, what it's about, and what's in it for you. So, oh, hi, Matt, I'm Alison Edgar MBE. And what I do is I work with small business owners who really struggle with their time to make sure that they've got a great presence online, which ultimately generates leads for them and helps to grow the business. So before we sort of go any further, what I wanted to do is just sort of find out what are the challenges you have, if any, around your social media. and you go, oh, well, actually, I'm always short of time. I don't have it. I don't get enough likes. I don't have enough followers. I don't. Okay. And how does that impact your business? You know, if you were had to get more interaction on your socials, how do you think it would? And what is your business goal? And what's stopping you from getting there? And how does that happen? And what's your growth plan? So over the next 5 years, what are you looking to do as far as your revenue goes? Okay, and what's your, just out of interest, what's your average job value that you have? Because then again, sort of mentally, you're kind of working out whether they can afford it and things like that. So really just asking great open questions, and then at the end saying, so just to summarize, Matt, you've got an online hair salon, I don't know, like anything, let's have a thing, I don't know, anything. And you're looking to grow it over the next 12 months by 10%. You've analysed your time, and you've looked to see that actually you're spending 20% of your time doing that, but with that 20% of your time, you could actually be meeting customers. So you're feeling that it's distracting you from that. And then, you know, you're looking for somebody that can generate more followers or do whatever it is. So what my suggestion is I've got 3 different options for you. 1 is I can do it myself. 2 is I can outsource it to my team. 3 is we can do whatever it is. How does that sort of fit in with what you were thinking? So again, another great open question. How does that fit in with what you were thinking? So it kind of flips back what most people that are not trained to sell do, because most people go, oh my God, I can do your socials. I can do this. I can do that. And again, you haven't found out what the challenges they are having in that arena. So again, I don't know, that wasn't a brilliant example, but hopefully it gives the listener.
I thought it was great, actually, because I think the key thing I'm taking away is it's really about being a great listener, and it's about really
100%.
And I think when you understand the person and you genuinely understand their problems, then you know if you can actually solve them. And it's unethical to lie and say, oh, I can do this, if you know you can't. And I think so that way, it's less about selling. It's more about genuinely thinking, can I help this individual? If I can,
customer service, 100% customer service.
Yeah.
And the thing with it is, and I think it's been ethical to, and this is again where it's interesting. I could honestly talk about this all day, because I've seen people do really dodgy selling. You know, don't forget, I've worked for some really big organizations. And this is where I think, you know, when people start their business, I call it the seesaw, because, you know, you should always either do it as a side hustle or have enough money that's going to have, you know, see you through, because it's going to take you about 3 months, even 6 months to get a really good pipeline, to get some revenue coming through there. And people sell dodgy selling when they're desperate for cash. And it comes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, can I pay my mortgage? Have I got enough money for food? Have I got this? Am I safe? Am I secure? And that's where they panic, and they become pushy, selly, or dodgy.
I think that's really, really great to like highlight that point, because I think as well, like even just with marketing, like you can put in, I think, like call to actions and start selling prematurely as well. I think like generally, I know it's kind of like a cliche thing that's said a lot, but coming back to that principle that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, like taking your time to build that trust means that you put yourself in a position to build a relationship for life, rather than I need money now, so I'll do and say whatever I need to do and say to just get cash in now. Because what can happen with that is you then get buyer's remorse, which then means you're going to get a hell load of problems, which might include being bad-mouthed. And then there's a massive ripple effect to that, right? Which can have a detrimental.
100%. And I think it's interesting you talk about buyer's remorse, because that's what you see from a bad sale. You know, I've seen it, like when I worked at Yellow Pages, like my cancellation rate was like 0.0 whatever, because I had made it tight. Every sale was really tight, and I never oversold. I still smashed the targets, but I never oversold, because I knew that there was growth on that, and I could go back. And again, I talk about the bingo strategy. So here's another nugget coming. So you might lead in with one product, and literally you should have a list, like a bingo card, of the products that you sell, and then have a list of your clients, and then tick it off like bingo, and then try and get a full house. But again, this is another thing that people go, and I do whatever it is, and I do this and I do that, and people, it's overwhelming for people. You've not found a need for it. So saying things like, and what do you do about answering your calls? How do you answer your calls when you're not available? Oh, I just let it go to voicemail. Okay, how does that affect your business? Oh, I really struggle with that. Okay, so what if there was a way that we could answer the calls off the back of the social media and track that, as to how many calls you've had and what the outputs and what the payback was? How would that work for you? Oh my God, that sounds amazing, Matt. I would really love that. So that's what I mean. You've asked back to those questions again and backload the questions, reverse engineer the questions to what's in your bingo card to get that full house.
I love that. It also, just hearing you talk made me think, like, I think when a lot of people traditionally come to looking at sales, they go like, what's our targets? Like, what do we want to earn this month or this quarter, whatever? And then people are getting on the phone or getting in the DMs, just trying to hit those numbers. And I think really coming back to asking the right questions, I think rather than trying to get to the close as quickly as possible, it's more trying to identify, are we the right fit as quickly as possible? And then not spending ages on the phone just trying to sell those products to somebody who it's not right for. And I think, again, just as a bit of a sort of a mindset reframe for a lot of people, yes, it's great to have targets and know your numbers, but then in order to get there quicker, rather than just selling to anybody, the job really is, how quick can we identify if the fit's right? Does that make sense?
And I also think not being scared to have the conversations. And I'll give you an example, right? Hopefully he's not watching, but you'll have seen, Matt, I talk about it a lot, my fitness journey. So again, in my 50s, I took up fitness. I was told that I've got arthritis, that my health was going to deteriorate, so I had to do something different. So I took up fitness. I did couch to 5K, I did 10K runs, a half a marathon, climbed Mount Snowdon. I now do boot camp and I go to the gym really regularly. So I do the classes at the gym, and I find looking at all those machines quite daunting. Not that I'm scared of them, but I just don't know the right numbers to, what weight's that? Where does this wee button go and stuff like that? So I said to one of the PTs, can you just I'll pay you to give me a lesson on these machines. And he's like, yeah, Alison, yeah, I'll come back to you. Yeah. Now, he's a PT. That's his job. That's how he makes money. He obviously get paid to man the gym, but he gets the thing. And it's like, oh my God. And I talk about behaviors. So I could talk about this on another podcast, but how different people make their decisions in different ways. Now, I'm a task-focused person. So if I make a decision, I want to do it now. I've got my hand ready on my credit card and take my cash because I want to do it like now. So he's like, yeah. And he comes back to me. So do this thing, pay him the hour just for showing me the machines. But I've only now seen half the machines, right? I've seen half, but there's another half of these wee buttons that I just don't know how to work, right? And he's such a nice guy. And he probably thinks, oh, I don't really want to ask her because she's really busy. He follows me on Instagram, so he knows that I'm all over the place, right? And he's like, oh, she's really busy. And I'm thinking, I need to know how to work the other machines. And I've had to ask him twice because, again, he's treating me the way that he probably wants to be treated at quite a slow pace. He's not identified that I'm a quick buyer, book it in the diary, and I'll have paid him in 10 minutes. So, there's other facets to this around how people behave. And never be afraid to say, once you've got that client and done that, you go, right, you've only done half the machines. Let me have a wee look. Let's get you in the diary. Right, we can do that. When would you like to do that? Or I want to do it tomorrow, or I want to do it yesterday. Right, okay, let's get that done. So again, it comes back to asking those questions of, what's your expectation on when we're going to do that? And what's your time frame on this? And what do you see as the next steps? And they'll tell you, if you've built it up and got a need, you've already got that strategy to sell more stuff, because once you've got that client and they love you and they like you, they're going to buy more stuff from you. But they're not naturally going to come to you and go, oh, I really want that, or I really want this. It's your duty to go to them and say, I've had a look at this. What I'm thinking is this might work quite well alongside this. What's your thoughts? How much is that going to cost? Well, actually, it's going to be this. Oh, I can't really afford that. Okay. I mean, what we can do, if you move this contract to 6 months and I bolt that on the back, I could probably do it for slightly less, but it just means that we're going to be working together for another 6 months. How does that sound? Yeah, you've done a really good job so far. Let's go ahead and do that. So again, it's that kind of thinking.
It's great, and I know you go into more depth in the book about sort of the different personality types. But it's a great thing. Yeah, it's a great thing to recognize is people buy differently. So understanding people's different styles will then help inform you how best to communicate. Everything's about communication, right? So I think that's really, really valuable. Alison, I'm so mindful of the time and I want to make as much time for the members Q&A as possible. which is so annoying because I literally want 3 hours with you. There's so many questions I've not asked. But what I do have is like a few kind of general life questions that I try and ask all of our guests. So let's try and get through a couple of them, and then we'll head on over to the Q&A if that's okay. So first question is, what is some of the best advice you've ever received in your life, and why?
Oh, it's got to be from Lorraine. Get over yourself and just get on with it, hen. Just
Great.
go.
Yeah.
What's the worst?
Second one is the flip side. What's some of the worst advice you've heard, and why?
Employ your old boss.
Yeah.
It's like, never employ your old boss is the worst advice, and I got it from her, and it didn't work out. So, worst advice. I don't know. I know it sounds really bizarre, but I kind of just beat by my own advice. Like I kind of beat by my own drum. I've got a sense checker. So my husband is miserable. There's a phrase called a dour Scotsman, and he is that. So I've always got somebody that keeps my, like, even from the MBE and stuff like that, he was really proud of me. But it's always like, oh, that's really great that you're working with Oracle or Louis Vuitton or you've got an MBE. He said, but nobody's emptied the dishwasher today. So I think that your turn. So, I think I sort of take my own advice, but I run it through my team. So I think I create my own stuff, and if it, I could talk all day, like R&D. Like I did an R&D claim for the app. I took advice on that, and it didn't go through, so I've got to pay back all the tax on it. There's loads of stuff I could talk about, but I tend to go with my gut and then take the consequence on myself. If it hasn't worked out, then it's my own fault, nobody else's advice.
Great, having that accountability in there as well. Next question: what is your biggest failure to date, and what did you learn from it?
Definitely the app. Because it's in the whole book, it's in the narration of it. And I met this guy during lockdown on Clubhouse, and I trusted him, and I didn't do my full due diligence on it. So that was a big failure. Employing my old boss, that was a big failure. But apart from that, nothing that's been indestructible. And I think I've got quite tough mental resilience that I get annoyed. I'm a bit of a hothead. I would get annoyed really easily, and I'd like, and then think, right, I can't really control what's happened here. I've just got to pull it together, find the strength. And I think that's another reason I love having a team, because I've got to pull it together and hold it together for them, because they don't see that side. Or they see it occasionally, but I pull it straight back so that they see me in control, because it's important they see me in control as a leader, so that I can calm the ship for us all to do great things.
Amazing. Okay, next question. What is one thing that we've not talked about today that you would love to share with the listeners?
Obviously, the fact that both the books are available on Amazon, Secrets of Successful Sales and Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want. I think the TV show, I think goal setting, to put, without harboring on too much, because I know we're running out of time, but have goals, have a vision, and believe that you can do it. So for me, the overall big goal is if people don't know who I am, I can't help them. So it's my duty to grow the profile. And how do you do that? Obviously, again, coming on Matt's podcast. But the TV show, so I've just done a TV show for Amazon Prime called Ready, Set, Startup, and I'm the business mentor in there. Currently, it's on paid subscription, but we're hoping it goes on to free subscription with membership. But doing more TV, doing more podcasts, and just doing stuff to raise the profile so that I can help more people. So I've not really talked about the TV show, but I think we talked about quite a few of the other parts.
Yeah, great. And I can see Tracy's just put in the chat that she's already got your books in her basket. So brilliant. You've sold successfully, Tracy. I love it. Okay, next one is a lot of this podcast is called Success School. So we talk a lot about how traditional education doesn't necessarily give us the life lessons that are going to make us successful in life. I'm sure we've all got our own examples of that. So based on that, if you was to share with people 3 life lessons, 3 things that you would advise people to be aware of or to focus on that you believe are going to give them a happy, fulfilling, successful life, what would be those main 3 things that you would share?
So first of all, I would suggest people regularly gauge their happiness. because people say to me, Alison, what does smash it actually mean? And I think it means something different to everyone, but ultimately I think it means happiness, because like life is short and time is really precious. I think that's a lesson in itself, and it's too short to not be happy. So I think by really focusing on the things that make you happy, and like analysing on a scale of 1 to 5, if today I feel miserable, and it's not just today you're looking for a trend, but in general I feel miserable, a 5 means I am happy as a pig in poop. What do you need to change in your life to get there? You know, that's the thing, because you can't just continue, or you can, because a lot of people do. One of the biggest learning points that we took as we wrote Smash It, Kaya and I went through every single chapter, and because I'd never read a personal development book, we worked on what I had learned, or what we had learned on every chapter. Like, what have we learned as we write this? And I've learned that really intrinsic to happiness is a growth mindset, you know. And if you don't know what that is, then literally buy the books or Google it or whatever. But it's about how you battle the voice in your head. And I think, you know, I've talked about it. You're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. You're not clever enough. Who do you think you are starting a business? You know, all of that stuff that regularly holds us back. And I think the other, like, as I've talked about here, a lot of time we get distracted by things that we really cannot control. Like, I can't control the cost of living crisis. I can't control the fact that my light is not working at the moment, and the lighting on this podcast is not brilliant, but I cannot focus on that. And so many people would be focusing on that and not on you and having the conversation. And I think in general, also, I think the other thing is never putting too much pressure on yourself. I think this is the thing, like, comparison is definitely the killer of joy, because if we look at entrepreneurs out there, and I've had to learn the lesson myself, Matt, because I would be looking at this person or that person, oh my God, oh, it's not fair. Oh, it's not fair. Like, they're doing so well and I'm not doing that. Stop it. Just like, go on with yourself. And you know, some days for me, I talk about bring your A game. Every single day, bring your A game. But some days your A game is just getting out your pajamas.
Yeah.
Other days it's climbing a mountain. Don't beat yourself up, because you need those days of just getting out your pajamas to refresh and really build that, you know, resilience back up again. And I think I sort of end at my talks now, because a lot of my stuff now is motivational speaking, and I'm working with Louis Vuitton, Amazon, Adobe, Oracle. We've just landed DHL. I'm working with some of the biggest companies in the world. I started my business from nowhere with no clients, honestly. And it's like, oh, can't I believe it? And I talk about my Auntie June, because I think it's linked to confidence. So my mum she passed away 10 years ago, but she was one of 12 children. She was a big Scottish family, right? And she was number 3. Auntie June's number 6. So they call each other number 6, number 3, because there's so many of them, they sometimes forget the names. And Auntie June came down to visit, and she said, Hen, I want to take a selfie. And she's got the camera out. She goes, Hen, I can't see myself. All I can see is the garden. And I'm like, we have to turn it round, Auntie June. She goes, oh, I see myself now. I see myself now. She goes, how do I do it, Hen? And I said, like, well, we had it on the selfie stick. I said, just press the thing. And she goes, oh. I said, but why do you want that photo, Auntie June? And she says, well, I want to save this memory. I'm really happy seeing you. I want to save it. I want to show it to my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren that I've had such a lovely time. So again, it's that perseverance and that purpose to do something that's not in your comfort zone. But I said to her, Auntie June, you look great in that pink jacket. She said, Hen, I look great in anything. So my parting tip is be more Auntie June. Confidence is queen, but nobody can give you confidence. You've got to find it in yourself. So think like Auntie June.
Absolutely amazing, Alison. Thank you so much. I know you've spoke a little bit there about the Amazon Prime and the books, but if people are not already following you online and things like that, and they want to now give you a follow, watch more of your content, where's the places they can find you and how do they follow you?
LinkedIn's probably the big one, Alison Edgar MBE. Instagram is at the Alison Edgar MBE. I'm on X and I'm on TikTok, but I think it's all under at the Alison Edgar MBE. But the main one, Instagram and LinkedIn, are the 2 biggest channels for me.
Amazing, guys. Get Alison followed because she's got so many nuggets, more nuggets than McDonald's. Final question before we end with the Q&A with the members. Alison, what is your personal definition of success?
I think it is happiness, but I think it's also spreading happiness to other people, because that's how I feel successful, is if I do an event, the number of DMs that I get, and that's my gauge of how, really that success is not what I think about myself, it's what other people say when I'm, again, it sounds like quite cliched, but when you're not in the room, it's those conversations. And, touch wood, I'm not, there's a lot of people that are a bit Marmite, they're quite controversial. I've got strong opinions, but they tend to be well received, if that makes sense. And I never really, like when we started off and you said, is there anything we can't talk about? And I went, there's no skeletons in the cupboard. Like, there's just literally what you see with me is what you get. I still hang out with my pals from school. I still just do what I do. Like, I'm a mama too. I run the business. I've got a team. I go to the gym in the morning, and all I do is my best. And touch wood, again, I'm not saying that everybody likes me, but majority of people that like can relate to the stuff that I'm saying.
Listen, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to bang on about everything that's inside the membership, and that's true. I didn't lie to you. I'm not going to tell you everything because it's free to join. Go over there, find out for yourself. But one thing I do want to make sure you're aware of is pretty much almost every guest that you listen to on this podcast also agrees to do a further around about 30 minutes worth of the chat that is only available to the members only. Because what we do is we invite our members to listen to a lot of these podcasts being recorded live. And then once we've finished, they stay on the live on Zoom where they can actually ask questions to the guest speaker and get more personalized, bespoke answers. Now, if you want to be on the upcoming episodes, if you want to meet these guests and put your question to them, and if you also want to right now start to listen to all the past few years worth of these conversations, head on over to the link in the show notes, start your free trial today. And just to let you know as well, it's less than £5 a week after your free trial ends. So it's not going to cost you a lot of money, even if you want to stay long term. Click that link, start your trial, go listen to the content, get your invite to come and join us on all future podcast recordings. And I look forward to seeing you in our amazing, incredible community of people in the membership area. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode today, and I'll see you next time.